Hey, recruiting enthusiasts, I'm Priyanka, and welcome to Tech Recruiting Unfiltered podcast, a podcast for gaining all the insider knowledge about the top recruiters in the tech industry. On this week's episode, I'm excited to introduce Ranjana Sagar, who's the Associate Director of Recruitment at Synechron. With extensive experience in developing and implementing organizational capabilities in talent acquisition, she brings a wealth of knowledge to the process. This includes programs such as workforce analysis, recruitment strategy, university relations, employer branding, and community building. Furthermore, she has won Innovative HR Leader of the Year at the HR Tech Summit and Awards 2022. Welcome to the podcast, Ranjana. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much, Priyanka, and thank you so much for your kind words. I'm very excited to share my experiences with this platform and everybody on the talent acquisition side as well as talent management side, taking care of the talent across from hire to retire. So, yeah, thank you so much for giving this opportunity.
Yeah, I'm pleased to have you here as well. So, how are you doing today, Ranjana?
I'm doing very well, starting Monday morning with this. So, I think, yeah, it's a good to start with.
Awesome. To start off, can you tell us a bit about yourself and your role at Synechron and how you got started in this industry? And one thing I'm curious to know is what drives your passion for your work?
So basically, I'd like to introduce myself as a talent leader with near to 18 years of industry experience in driving strategic initiatives across the organization. So, been involved in the talent acquisition throughout my career journey, been able to create winning teams, hiring the top talent across the globe. And very passionate about being a change leader in the way recruitment works, as well as engage talent in the technology world. I come with extensive experience in developing and implementing organization capabilities in talent acquisition. My key focus has been on the diversity and specific to the gender diversity, campus relations, employer branding, and community building. Also, coming with rich experience on domain side with hiring expertise on the BFSI, cards and payments, new age technologies, digital skills, automation, and RPA skills. As you rightly mentioned, currently I am part of Synechron as a senior talent acquisition leader. I was erstwhile heading the talent acquisition for ACTRA, which is right now a part of Synechron.
Awesome. And you recently were a part of TA Leadership Retreat 2023, and you got the chance to have some really interesting discussions with the top TA leaders. So, how was your overall experience and any key takeaways you'd like to share with us?
Priyanka, thanks for bringing this up. I think I was there last Friday, and I can say that it was a great experience and would like to congratulate People Consulting and TA Dialogues for a very successful event. I think the panel discussions were very relevant in terms of the timing as well as the relevancy of the topics. Topics such as great resignation, great rehire, and great recession. The CEO's takes on that. And I think brought in a lot of insights and takeaways for all the talent acquisition leaders there. I think I would like to highlight one of the sessions, which was by Mr. Srijit from ENY, and he spoke about architecturing a purpose led talent acquisition function. It was a very interesting session because not only it emphasized the importance of having understanding the purpose behind everything that we do, but also understanding difference between job, career, and also understanding the purpose of our living, which makes not only our lives much easier, but I think it's also end of the day when you understand the purpose behind the things that you do, it gives you a lot of happiness, and I think the whole satisfaction of completing the things with more zeal. I think that was a little a session which was very away from the general sessions of how do we take challenges and things like that. So very different in terms of how we as talent acquisition leaders who are always with targets and running behind numbers, and how do we actually understand what is the purpose behind what we are doing, and how do actually, and I think when we understand this whole function's purpose, and I think I have realized this long back, and somehow I have always felt very highly about the profession that I am currently in. So I always feel that talent acquisition is such a noble function or profession because we not only give careers but also we bring in joys to family. In that way, I'm very happy, thankful for what I'm doing as well as the profession I am currently in. So yeah, this session was the highlight definitely of the event, as well as I think the tea dialogues brought in a session on sound healing by a yoga guru, gave us a deep understanding of how we should be taking care, or how should we as human not only take care of our careers, jobs, but also about our self well-being. Such an important thing right now, and post this whole COVID era, I think everybody has started to respect that fact that well-being and our human body is so very important. So I think, yeah, I would really would like to talk about these two things. Otherwise, the whole event was a very successful event with things getting insights, ideas, networking. But I think these two sessions were the highlight for me.
Very interesting insights, I must say, and thank you for sharing them with us. And Ranjana, so you've been a talent leader for 18 plus years now, and you have successfully driven strategic talent initiatives across various organizations. So, can you share with us a few initiatives you have taken over the years to improve and manage tech hiring efficiently in the organizations you have worked for so far?
Priyanka, I think some of these initiatives, and I think some of these best practices, which I think has helped me sail through my journey in the last 17 years, is that I think one of the things that I have been foremost for me is the team. I always believe that it is a teamwork and not an individual's work. As a leader, I feel that I need to have my team in front of me rather than behind me. So they need to lead me, and I need to really guide them from behind. So that is, I think, one of the things that I have been always really working through is creating winning teams, creating happy teams. One of the initiatives or best practices which I have tried to have during my 17 years of career, and I believe that I've also met really good people within my team. That's how I've been able to sail through in this journey of mine. So upskilling and understanding the learning path, understanding their passion towards this function is very important. And then holding them through this journey is, I think, one of the things that I really want to highlight about team. The second thing I think is the candidates. So the candidate connect. How do we actually have a candidate connect? And one of the things or initiatives that I brought in is forming communities. So as recruiters, a lot of times, I think not always, but a lot of times we are reactive. But how do we actually start making sure that we have enough people in our network? We are having those people whom we want to connect in the future are always in our network. So I think one of the things that I started working towards is forming communities. The initiative that I took within ATRA was the payment chamber. So because ATRA operated in cards and payments domain, we started with a community called Payment Chamber. And this was an initiative of forming communities within different cities, different city chapters. And what we used to do is we used to connect through them through messages, emails, and then we used to have an event where we used to actually call them up. And this was irrespective of the requirements, not having requirements, having requirements. This was not about hiring at all. This was to bring in people of the same community, of the payments community together within for a dinner, for a lunch, and then share our ideas, share our thoughts, bring in our leaders from within the organization and talk about what's happening in the industry. How, as an organization, we are moving towards the best things which are in the bucket for us. So, those technology landscape. So, those are the things, and how can ATRA provide that career to them? It was more about giving them insights about what's happening in the organization, what's happening in the industry, and how can they coming to the organization will help them grow. So that was the whole intent of bringing them to where there was no interviews, there was no talking about open positions. So that is how we started about forming communities, which helped us to bring about a lot of people who were not proactive job seekers. I think that was one of the initiatives that really helped. And the second, with effect of connecting with the candidates, I think that was post offer connect, where we actually within India we know that the notice period is, on average is around between 60 to 90 days, and holding on to the candidates is very difficult post offer. So how do we actually connect with them? So we started with a couple of initiatives there, apart from the normal calling them, calendarized calling and things like that. We started with something called storyboarding. Storyboarding was a concept of bringing candidates again. when we used to do this physically to the office, and then during COVID and in the last few years, we started doing this even virtually. But what we actually did is we used to call our candidates who are in our interview process, who are offered by us to our organization, and especially for a office visit, so that they can have a view of how the organization, how's the culture, so they can have a glimpse of the organization beyond the interviews, because interviews are such a formal interaction. So we wanted them to come over and have a coffee with us or a high tea, and then take a tour of the office. We used to bring our leaders and let them talk to them and relate with their stories about how their journey has been with the organization. So was the concept of onboarding through the stories. So that is how we started this event, in a very, very successful event where the candidates were actually, they told us that how connected they felt with the organization much before joining us. So that is one of the things that again started on the candidates connect perspective, was storyboarding. Then we also started to understand that assessments forms a very, very important part of hiring, and hence we started with a program called Hiring Right. Hiring Right was a concept of making sure that our assessments are standardized, our assessments are as per the candidate experience, the assessments are as per the requirements of the skills. So that is how we came up with the concept of hiring right, and it was a continuous learning and training process for the recruitment as well as the interviewing team. So that was another initiative on the hiring right. So apart from all the other initiatives, I think I wanted to highlight these couple of initiatives. So definitely, I think these are the initiatives that helped me sail through my career till date, and I'm hoping to have much more in the future.
Yeah, I think, you've shared some really amazing initiatives you've undertaken, and I liked a few of them, the community building and especially the hiring right and post offer connect storyboard. I think it's very unique and creative, I would say. And as a global recruitment leader, I'm sure you have faced many hurdles on a daily basis. But I want to, understand a bit about some of the biggest hurdles you have faced and how the learnings from various organizations have helped you in solving those challenges.
Yeah, this is pretty interesting. Challenges are part of everybody's career and part of our day to day life. Not talking about all the challenges, but what I want to bring, which has been a very recent challenge for almost all of us, was the year 2021, where we saw that the technology hiring really took everybody's attention, because technology hiring was something that was really big. Every organization was hiring. And somehow we saw that there was a real dearth of supply of talent. There was a big delta between demand and supply of talent within the industry. And hence, what happened is made the life of talent acquisition teams very, very difficult. So I would really talk about this particular year, because it was a very, very challenging year for almost everybody. But if I had to speak about the challenges, the biggest challenge was scaling up your own team, making sure that they are meeting the numbers, because the numbers really was huge. The numbers compared to what happened in 2020, and I think the numbers started increasing by the end of the quarter of 2020. But we started seeing a real spurge in the numbers by 2021. And to meet those numbers, even to cater to those numbers, we have to really scale up the team very, very quickly. So that was the biggest challenge, because you need to really bring in the right people. Also, understanding the fact that the hiring was remote. We were just learning how to do remote hiring. And then this whole big surge in the hiring numbers came up. And so, to manage with hiring remotely, and also to make sure that your processes are not compromised, you are really working towards making sure that your processes and procedures are intact, and you have to hire and scale up your team, as well as making sure that you are hiring remotely. And also, the bigger challenge came up with the proxy candidates, right? The market was tough and everybody was trying to get a job, and then there was a challenge of proxy candidates. So I think it was a very, very challenging year for talent acquisition teams across the industry. And same was for us. What we started making sure is we started making sure that we start looking at scaling up the team faster, because we knew that that's the key to success is getting the right amount of number of people in your team. So we started going for contractors. We started looking at companies for giving us recruiter on demand kind of a facility, which was a bit of RPO. So bringing in a lot of mix of recruiters, hiring candidates from on permanent roles. So what I did is tried to bring in a lot of people within the team, so scale up the team faster, and then made sure that set the processes in terms of remote hiring, making sure that the interviews are always on video. We have screenshots of the candidates. We have the onboarding is with the recruiter, making sure that the same candidate is onboarding with the interviewer with the screenshots and making sure that we have the video clippings of the interview. So setting the processes right, making sure that the SOPs are in place, and also then making sure that the numbers are met. So that is, I think, very challenging year, and I think we made huge numbers and made sure that. We are able to bring in the talent required at the right time as well as the right fit.
Yeah, I think you've shared some key challenges for which most of the recruiters out there would want solutions to. And it's really great and useful that you have shared your approaches and insights on how to tackle them. So Ranjana, you oversee and engage in hiring in different countries and in different skills. So when you hire globally, what kind of strategy do you employ? And I think skill gaps is often a major concern. So how do you identify and ensure that no skill gaps arise, and how do you effectively minimize them?
Definitely hiring in terms of skill gaps. I think we need to understand the need of the customers. We need to understand what is the must have skills there. And then we need to understand the availability of skills and what could be the skill gap in those region, or how do we actually fill those gaps through internal training or maybe through internal resource mobilization. Can we fill those gaps? So I think definitely pandemic gave us a wider talent market as well, but doing those initial research is very important to understand what is the demand internally, what is the skills that we have to make sure that are not compromised, as well as how can we fill those gaps. If there would be gaps, how can those skills be mapped within the organization if there are internal resources available, or we can mobilize some of the resources within the organization. One of the things also that we do, Priyanka, is we do hire a lot of graduates and have a curated program for them in terms of campus to corporate, which not only train them on the technical skills, but the domain skill as well as the soft skills. So having a pool ready within the organization is something that we have done over the years, which helps us creating pool within the organization and cater to those gaps that we all know that exist in terms of the skills. So that is how we have tackled this situation.
That's great. And as you rightly said, getting the clarity and understanding the requirements is really key. And I think in many companies, recruiting fairly is often a major challenge. And they have a really hard time attracting and hiring diverse candidates due to unconscious bias. And because you aren't just trying to reduce the unconscious bias in recruiting at the moment you select candidates, you must go like further back and reduce that bias where you find your talent in the first place. So I'd like to know how you identify and remove unconscious bias, and what are some common areas or factors which you've seen companies overlooking?
So one of the things very rightly said about unconscious bias, Priyanka. So I think what we started doing a couple of years back, I think what we started doing very systematically is introducing our interviewers as well as our recruiting team to unconscious bias, letting them know what it is, letting them understand what types of unconscious bias are there, letting them really go through formal training in terms of what is unconscious bias, and then have them train them on a regular basis in terms of more of a refresher so that it really doesn't go away from them. We have been very consciously training our interviewers and recruitment team on unconscious bias, letting them understand that this is something that has to be on the top of their mind when they are recruiting. Also, we went ahead and I spoke about one of the initiatives in terms of hiring, right? So we went ahead and standardized our interview process and training both interviewers and recruitment team on the interviewing skills, and also making sure that this helps in our candidate experience. So definitely making sure that if somebody is coming in the organization, if we hire somebody and that person gets into the recruitment team and that person gets into interviewing team, they bring in some of the culture from their previous organization. So how do we actually make sure that it doesn't seep into our interviewing process or it doesn't seep into our hiring process is constantly standardizing your process, making sure all the team members are aware of what kind of a culture we have in the organization and what kind of a, and as you rightly mentioned, that we make no mistakes in terms of hiring fairly. That is how we actually kept ourselves very informed, I would say, informed and trained in terms of recruiting fairly. Also, in terms of bringing in diverse talent, this is something that we've been constantly doing. So, as an organization, we've made sure that gender diversity is remains a priority. We've also been training our internal employees on other diversity factors like LGBT, especially abled, and also bringing in veterans to the organization. So that way we have made sure that we are aware of these kind of diversity, also region diversity. So within India, outside India, bringing in people from every region, bringing in people from tier 2 cities within India, tier 3 cities within India. So those kind of awareness and training has been a constant thing within the hiring process of the organization.
Yeah, as you rightly said, training the interviewers and recruitment teams about unconscious bias and keeping them informed is really key. And yes, standardizing the entire assessment process globally is really important as well. And I feel judging if a candidate is a right fit is one of the most difficult things to do and also very crucial at the same time. So, let's say you were hiring a candidate, Ranjana. So, would you prefer to hire one who's trainable or one who possesses all the skills you require? And how do you identify like which is which and decide what is best for your organization?
We would go for both. This is because when we look for somebody who is total right fit and can be deployed immediately to a project and who has all the skills, plus somebody who is trainable, this helps in creating good pool mix for us. The one who has all the skills helps in fulfilling the immediate needs of the organization, needs which requires a customer facing role. Somebody needs to be a team manager maybe, and also maybe sit out of a customer office. So in that case, definitely we need somebody who is total right fit and comes with all the skills. But a trainable resource where bringing in that resource will also help us in creating a future pipeline. And definitely this will help us balance the talent pool in the organization. So a winning team is a combination of both of them.
Yeah, I think a combination of both is really the best approach. And with the ever changing job market, I think it's very crucial to adjust the recruiting, but also to, look at what you offer the employees. And companies can adjust by guaranteeing the employee training and development opportunities. And this equips, both the company as well as employees with the latest skills and the knowledge needed to succeed as well. And as well as it signals to the potential recruits out there that the company is an attractive place to work, so which can be productive in times of economic certainty. So what are your thoughts on this, Ranjana, and what initiatives have worked well for you so far, and any tips or examples you would like to share with us?
Sure, Priyanka. So I think you asked one of the questions that you had previously was about how do we bridge the gap. So I think one of the things about bridging gap in this particular question about how do we actually take care of the development opportunities for our employees, I think upskilling, cross-skilling is the way to bridge the gap, as well as is one of the biggest retention tools as well for the organization. So not only taking care of our employees, but in turn making sure that they stay back with us, because once you show them their learning path, once you show them their career path, show them the way they can grow in a career, they will definitely stay back with the organization. So I think it is a great retention tool, as well as it helps open numerous opportunities for employees, right? So they feel very secured within the organization and they feel that they can grow with the organization. I think that's the way to the future. Also, I think one of the things that we've seen in the last couple of years, and as organization, we brought in Udemy licenses. So that is something which I really want to share. So when we brought in this Udemy licenses for all our employees, everybody has their own license, and which means that they had n number of training open to them, and they can learn anything and everything on these this platform. I think for individually for me, it helped me and learn so many things. In my free time, yeah, over weekends, I was able to pick up so many trainings for myself, which I was really not sure where to go for it or where to look for it and how to actually train myself or get some information about a particular topic. So I think one of the things that really impressed me about the organization I'm currently with is bringing in Udemy licenses when we were all working remotely. I think that was a great thing to happen within the organization.
Greatly put, Ranjana. And like you said, it's really important to make the potential candidates as well as the employees to feel valued and be transparent about their growth. And among all the best practices you've shared, I think I really liked, upskilling and cross skilling for retention. And yeah, I think, providing Udemy lessons is a great way for them to explore and, improve in the areas they want to work on. So, before we wrap up our conversation, I wanted to ask you, Ranjana, your experience in the industry goes back to nearly 2 decades. What would be your advice for the budding recruiters out there?
I think people who are looking for growing in talent acquisition function or grow as a recruiter, I think definitely you need to have passion. You need to understand the purpose behind this job. I think you need to understand that as recruiters, you shape somebody's career. You help them get a new job. You help them with new perspectives. So I think definitely you need to understand the purpose. Also, to have passion and as we always say that working hard is the way to success. So I think passion and hard work never goes anywhere. So that's the
Yeah.
key to success. So definitely there is no compromise on that. And the second thing I think, as we all this current times, we are all talking about work-life balance. So the second thing I really want to talk about is that work and life can't be two different aspects. It has to be balanced by a good handshake between the two. They can't be two different brackets or they can't be put in two different groups. We need to bring them together and make sure that they complement each other. So let's not bring work-life balance as two different things. And you ask, I think we start asking ourselves that should we not close our work at 5 or 6 and then do something as personal? Definitely, but then you need to understand how do you actually. I think better than putting timings there, it's better to understand how do you actually put them all together and see how it works well. So that is the second thing about bringing balance between your work and life. So that is how I would like to put it together.
I love the part, where you said passion, purpose, and hard work is the key to success. And, yes, work life balance is not the same for everyone and it's different for each person. And folks really need to understand that and, figure out what works for them and what their work life balance is. And that brings us to the end of our conversation. I enjoyed speaking with you, Ranjana, and I love the insights and the tips you have shared with us today. So thanks again for joining Tech Recruiting Unfiltered podcast.
Thank you so much, Bianca. It was wonderful speaking to you and beautiful questions. I think was able to bring in a lot of things today's session. So thank you so much.